All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2013 PAX Prime Magic the Gathering World Building Panel. Would you people like to talk about some Theros? All right. My name is Jeremy Jarvis. I am the Senior Art Director for Magic the Gathering. That's my day job. Today I'm told that I have two duties. One is to be impartial. We'll see how that works. The other is to make sure we have some time for Q&A. So I'm going to introduce the panel we have here from the creative team and the brand team. On my far right, senior magic writer, author, lead conceptor, recently for Return to Ravnica, author of The Secretist, Doug Beyer. Hi. So Doug is also the face and hands behind Doug Beyer MTG Tumblr feed.
That's true. Hi, any Tumblr peeps out here? Yeah. Hi, folks.
Show them both hands. Show them both hands, Doug.
Oh, sorry.
People, them are answer hands. To my immediate right is Magic's senior concept artist, hailing from exotic Canada, bringing an international flavor to the team. That's right. Richard Whitters. On my far left, acclaimed novelist, lead conceptor for Innistrad, and more recently for Theros, Jenna Helland. And to my immediate left, guest starring from our brand team, is Jennifer Meyen. Jennifer was part of the names and flavor text team for Theros and is also here to introduce you to some exciting new play experiences that we honestly hope you will enjoy and think you will.
Also, you might know me as Tifa from the MTG podcast.
Okay, so let's kick this off starting to talk about some broad strokes of Theros. We have come off of Ravnica. We knew it was going to be a success, the hustle and bustle and all of the crazy guild and factionalization. Well. Yes.
Woo!
Yes. Woo! Yes. We are once again in a world where an island looks like an island and a mountain looks like a mountain. It is idyllic. It is sun-drenched. Let's go to some more concept. Oh, a landscape made of seashells. What a fantastical place this must be, you say. Oh, it is, I say. The polises. There are, I know that's not actually the plural. I don't know what it is. So, Akros is our analog for Sparta. They are very soundly red-white. They are a very warrior-driven culture. They train, they fight. This is not the polis that you would want to leave a flaming bag at the doorstep of, because they do not have much of a sense of humor, and they would destroy you. Miletus, this is our Athens analog, a city of philosophers, the thinkers. Obviously, the open waterfront implies trade and the knowledge and study, but also, while they might discuss what was in the flaming bag and think about the quantum nature of it and how you couldn't really tell until you opened it and looked. They also talk about oranges. Here's a top-down card. Hey, guess what this does? Well. So, and after they discussed the bag and the nature of it, they would also destroy you. Setessa. Setessa is our haven in the wilds. It is remote. This is our analog roughly for the Amazon. It is a hippie culture and fairly green-white. The six of you that that enjoy Selesnya will like this place. They have a farmer's market like Ballard. See how resonant it is? So, if you offered them a flaming bag,
Compost.
Yep, they would compost it. They would.
That's right.
They would. and then they would destroy you. So outside of the three major polises, which are hubs of humanity, there are other humanoid races capable of being heroic, although they're not directly part of the polises in most cases. And they are exactly what you would expect them to be, but they're cooler and look better. Centaurs. Leonin have a kind of a rocky history with a lot of the humans here, but they are still wide-aligned and still capable of heroism. Satyrs do satyry things and hate shields and enjoy fire, apparently. And our merfolk here are the Tritons. So with that, I'm going to hand the clicker down to Doug to introduce bigger and splashier aspects of the set.
Let's see if this clicks from down here. All right.
It does.
So when you think about Greek mythology, what's the first thing you think of? That's right, clay urns. But we also wanted to make sure we got some gods in there as well. So this was a really fun project to actually create an entire pantheon of gods for this new plane of Theros. This is Heliod, the god of the sun, and one of his worshippers is reaching up and receiving a blessing from the god of the sun. Each of these gods has personality. They're, from Greek mythology, we know that gods show many humanoid characteristics. They're jealous, they're vengeful, they're surprisingly kind sometimes. Thassa, the god of the sea, is not usually very kind. She likes to wipe out, fleets of ships with giant waves. The Tritons often worship her. We were looking for ways to bring gods alive in magic. We haven't really touched on gods that much in magic. And so the task of creating beings that were beyond mortality, that were larger than life and worshipped by mortals, was a big challenge. This is Erebos, god of the dead. He rules over the underworld of Theros. So we were looking for a way to distinguish gods and enchantment creatures from other kinds of creatures in the set. We wanted a visual distinction that we could rely on so that people would be able to tell which is which. So if you'll see in this nymph sort of in the lower left and on Erebos, the star field effect, wherever there's shadow that appears on gods or other divine creatures, those shadows fall away into a kind of galactic night sky effect. And that represents Nyx, the realm of the gods, where they all dwell. How many different tries do we attempt to get some visual cue to distinguish the gods?
Way too many.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like 12 guys take a crack at that.
Yeah.
And we ended up with something that, while it might seem a little obvious, what we did, instead of doing something overly complicated, cards are very small, the art is small, and shadows in the art of a card is also small. We didn't want to compromise the creature or tyrannize it. So what we did is, while it looks like Starfield on the creatures, why don't you tell them about the nature of Nyx and how it's not just a night sky?
That's a good transition. So,
Weird.
if you look up at the night sky in Theros and you're immortal, you can see immortal, not an immortal. You can see the kind of the tales of the gods playing out on the night sky. We knew that constellations and looking up at the night sky was a huge part of Greek learning, so we incorporated that into the way that the gods relate to the night sky. So that plays out here in. I clicked something. So the night sky. There we go. This is Perforos, god of the forge. He's pretty red-aligned. This time we wanted a god that wasn't just a straight-up god of war, although you will find there are other gods beyond these major five. Perforos is a god of the forge, and he is god of creativity and passion. He is the god that you worship if you want to endeavor to make something new. And he will smash you with his hammer if you don't worship him. So we were looking to represent the gods as cards, which was a very difficult design task as well. How do you actually translate a god into a magic card? And we did awesome stuff with art. Look at this awesome piece with Nylea up there, the god of the hunt. You can tell she's very big because the hills are smaller than her legs. And there's scale birds, of course. Everybody knows about scale birds. You can tell something is large if you got tiny birds. So what was the idea behind bringing these into card form? Let's take a look. So check out that type line first of all. Legendary enchantment creature - god. They're not rogues or warriors or anything. There was no room for them to have jobs. They're just gods.
We were very, very afraid that we would literally not be able to fit that many letters on the type line,
Yeah.
because we also localize into German, but it turns out the Germans have a single word for legendary enchantment.
It's true. Thank goodness for Germans. Awesome. So the gods are enchantment creatures. You can see the Nyx starfield effect that's continuing through the frame in the upper part of Nylea's card here. She's indestructible. She has a power and toughness. She's an enchantment. She has a repeated effect. Also, she requires devotion. This is a connection between the gods and the mortals. Each of the gods can manifest as long as you have enough worshipers around. And if your opponent has a god out, maybe kill some of their worshipers, and maybe the god won't be such a problem.
Spoilers.
So we want to look at some other ways that the gods manifest in Theros. This is some art of some mortals being bestowed with powerful magic of the gods. On Theros, every enchantment represents magic of the gods, so it represents divine acts of the gods. There are also a couple of glimpses of gods that we haven't really seen yet. That's all I'm going to say about that. So be sure to respect the gods when you're on Theros. You need their support. You need their favor. Do nice things for the gods, or else things just won't go very well for you. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Richard. He's going to talk about the World Guide and some monsters. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're looking at here is basically the cover of the Theros World Guide.
Richard, what is a world guide?
Jeremy, I am so happy you asked that. We create a world guide every year for every magic block, and it's basically the preconception of the entire block. It starts with what we call a top line, where basically the writers do like a written description of what the world's going to look like or feel like, and all the different things that are going to go on. And once the top line is complete, we bring in 3 to 5 artists for about a month or so, and we basically flesh out all of the cultures, environments, creatures, everything we need to fill it out. We usually end up with like 300 or 400 images sometimes, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. So for Theros, we had a really great team. We brought in Steve Prescott, who nailed down a lot of the gear, weapons, armor, and sort of a lot of cultural stuff, and did a lot of cool critters. Adam Paquette created a lot of our landscapes and our city and polis designs, and also did a lot of cool critters. Todd Lockwood did a lot of cool stuff, including the dragon and the griffin that you see up here, and no one does dragons better than Todd. Pete Moorbacher created a lot of cool things, including the Lean-In and the Returned, which I'll preview for you as I get through here. And Eric Deschamps, who created like some of our merfolk design, or Medusa, but he actually also completely redesigned the look of Elspeth for this set. So he's the one who turned Elspeth Greek and gave her a spear sword and all that cool stuff. So anyway, what I'm going to show you here is basically how concept art from a world guide like this gets translated into final card art. And I'd like to show you everything in the world guide, but these guys told me to stick to monsters. So I'm going to show you a few monsters. So who likes monsters? All right. Give me a monster sound. No, bigger than that, bigger than that. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll show you the concept art, and when I show you the final art, give me a monster roar. Or if you're really scared of it, give me a scream. All right. All right, so here you have a harpy, which is pretty much Jeremy in the morning.
I'm just glad he qualified it to the morning.
And there's Jeremy by noon. So you can sort of see how 2 different artists are playing together here, and we get a concept from one, and the other one takes it to paint and finishes it out. Here we have our Cyclops from Pete Moorbacher. It's a crazy looking evil dude. and our big smashy Cyclops. Bah! And here's a cat blah blah. There's no Canadian spelling for this word. This is not in our dictionary. There's only one person picking up on that.
Thank you for roaring, sir.
So, you're getting something free after this. All right, and you gotta have minotaurs in a Greek world. Yeah. So our minotaurs here are feral and bestial, and ain't none of them got no book learning. Again, very much like Mr. Jarvis.
I saw that coming. You broadcasted it.
There we go. All right.
Oh, a new thing. Man.
So these are the returned. They're basically soulless bodies that have escaped or returned from the underworld, and they're wandering around Theros. So they're sort of an undead type. They're really creepy, and Pete really nailed creepy. And there's our final art. See, I picked all these because all of them are screaming. There's our CERBERUS. Yeah, it looks pretty nasty there. A little nasty. There we go. There we go. All right. And here we go. Yes. Okay, you want to see the final? Ooh. Yeah. So that's a pretty good Kraken, but we're in the Kraken theater. We need a better Kraken than that. There's our Kraken. All right. So this guy eats those squids. Okay. And you can't have a Greek world without a Hydra. So there's our Hydra. Really awesome final art by Johan. Okay, so that's our concepts. It's a concept of final art. So like I said, you can sort of see how two artists play together to get something unique in the end. And that said, I will pass things on to Jenna, who will tell you about the most powerful beings on Theros.
All right. You guys want to talk planeswalkers? Let's do it. All right. This is Xenagos the Reveler. He is a satyr planeswalker from Theros. So just a little background on this fellow. Before his spark ignited, he enjoyed the typical freewheeling life of a satyr in the Skola Valley. His spark ignited and he ventured out into the multiverse, expecting to enjoy all the vast pleasures now available to him. But what he found unexpectedly was disillusionment. Compared to the infinite, he felt small, and that is the last thing an arrogant satyr wants to feel. So he returned to Theros with, let's just say, ambitions to make himself a great presence that will be felt all over the plane. But as he schemes, he runs afoul of, yay, Elspeth. Oh, I love Elspeth. I'm so happy. So I'll give you a second to look at her card. Some of you probably saw it last night. I want to go back just a minute and do a little, we first saw Elspeth on, did that work? There we go. We first saw Elspeth on Bant in the Shards of Alara, where she was keeping her secret as a her true nature as a planeswalker's secret. The conflicts came and threatened her home, and still she resisted, revealing the extent of her power. And when she finally did, the battle was won, but not the war. And the people said, Elspeth, lead us. And she didn't, and she left Alara. We next saw her in Mirrodin, where she joined the resistance against the Phyrexians with Koth. She lost her own home plane to Phyrexia years ago. And for those of you who are curious about the circumstances that she left Mirrodin, there will be an Uncharted Realms story running on our website in September. But for now, yeah, yay! For now, let's just say Koth urged her to leave, the resistance had failed and Mirrodin had completely fallen to New Phyrexia. So she goes to
The next
Theros. She's been here before, actually, briefly, shortly after her spark ignited, but before she found Bant. And in that brief time she was here, she saw the face of Heliod. And it terrified her, and she left. But now she returns precisely because there is the divine presence in the world. After what she's experienced on Alara and on Mirrodin, she wonders if there might be something about the nature of the gods that means this plane, please, this plane, is incorruptible, it can't be destroyed, it can't be infected. Maybe if there are gods, everything can't fall apart. So she runs into she comes to the attention of Heliod, who believes she is destined to be his champion. But will she be willing? Elspeth is struggling with the fundamental nature of what it means to be a planeswalker. Does she seek what she wants? Things we all can relate to, a home, security, comfort, or does she embrace her true power and become the hero that Heliod believes she can be? So Elspeth's going to meet some interesting people on Theros. I want to introduce you to one of them. This is Daxos of Miletus. I'll give you a second to read his card. I'll give you more second.
Read all of the words. All the words.
He's legit.
So there's something besides being freaking awesome. There's something else about him that I love, and that is he is a crucial character in the ebook that is coming out in the spring.
And who is writing this ebook, Jenna Helland?
I'm writing this ebook, and you should all check it out. I think we'll go back to Jeremy.
So you guys heard me introduce the writers as what they had led the concepting of. So we want to talk a little bit about that and go a little bit down the rabbit hole of, in these very, very tropey, expectation-exceeding resonant settings, like Innistrad, like Theros, I want to show you what that looks like, what that work on our team looks like very briefly. So some of them are very, very top-down, right? So we are literally handed from the developers on Magic text that looks very much like this. Now, this is all very intentional on purpose. It says it's a Cerberus. It is creature type hound. It has double strike, implying that it has 2 heads. Well, here's probably what it looks like, and it comes together as a pretty tight package, right? It's exactly what you expect it to be. Same thing from here. I'll give you a second to read this. Right? It's still pretty top down. That's what it looks like. It comes together into a tight package of exactly what they, top down design. Not everything works that way. So for every Hydra that is built to be a Hydra, this is Innistrad, right? The year is 2010 and we are building Innistrad. So if it's not self-apparent as to what exactly it should be, like, is it a vampire? Yes, no. So this card is a great example to me. So this could be anything, like a bat exploded, right? Or
I almost went with that.
You fell on your keys. It could be.
That's a missed opportunity right there.
In New Phyrexia, it would have been, let me help you get rid of some face. So, but for Innistrad, that's not what we wanted. If you don't recognize this card yet, that's what it is. That's what it looks like. And it's not about the life loss. It's not about gore. It's not about whatever. It's about the mood before it happens, and it's named after the sound of the mood, right? And that to me is an excellent Innistrad card. So let's go to an example from Theros. This is a real card. This could be anything, right? Right? -3, -0. So the creature is physically fine, but it's ineffective. It could be shackled, or it could be frozen in ice, or it could be, but what, if you're thinking of an ancient Greek setting, what is this card? Naked wrestling. Jenna, Or lost in a labyrinth. I kept trying to make naked wrestling happen because I had the art done from college. It was art school. You get to kick the tires. Here's what it looks like. And it comes together into a great package for Theros. We're always trying to find ways to get the right imagery, to have the camera in the right place, to make sure that the things you were expecting to see, you get to see them, and they are awesome. So a thing that we're doing differently than Innistrad is offering some new play experiences to allow you to engage in new ways and continue to see new and awesome things. And Jennifer Meyen is going to talk you through those things.
Hi, guys. Who here wants to be a hero? All right. So in this set, you'll have the opportunity to experience the story unlike any set before. We've created this experience called the Hero's Path. It is inspired by the classic hero's journey found in many Greek myths, and it will be in your own local game store. This also will parallel Elspeth's quest and path on Theros. So while you're participating, know that you're doing very similar things to your planeswalker Elspeth. So there are 9 challenges total. There will be 3 in each set. The 3 things that you'll do in Theros will repeat in Born of the Gods and Journey into Nyx, only there will be more difficult each set. Your first step will be at the Theros pre-release. Who's excited to go to the pre-release? Yeah! All right, so the first thing you'll have to do is choose your path, and this will be based on what type of hero you want to be. So think about what being a hero means to you, and that can help you decide which box you're going to choose. Each box will uniquely equip you with a hero card. So there's 5 different options at the pre-release. The pre-release is September 21st. I'm sure all of you know that already. But these cards will help you in the adventures that await throughout the entire block. So your next step is at Theros launch weekend. Here, you will be asked to use your wits to solve a puzzle. If you succeed at solving this puzzle, you will actually earn favor of the gods, and they will grant you a gift, which you can then use in your next challenge. So you can take a look here. This is actually the gift that you can get from the gods. And when you go to Theros Game Day, finally, you get to venture into the wilds and face a mighty Hydra, just like Elspeth does in the story. The Hydra will actually take the form as a challenge deck. This challenge deck is a brand new experience, and you can face it either on your own or with friends, which is super exciting. If you successfully defeat the Hydra, you'll gain another hero card, which will help in Born of the Gods and Journey into Nyx. So, if you want to stand among heroes, you'll be able to do it this set in your local game store. Who's excited for that? Sound pretty good? Great.
The idea is, on the hero's journey, you guys know the stories, the situations that the hero has thrust upon them end up uniquely qualifying that person to face whatever that end challenge is.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, that you go and as you face these challenges, you're turning up the temperature, but those hero cards are the reflections of your experience to allow you to be able to take down those challenge decks at game day.
So the hero cards will actually, you can use them during the challenge deck experience. So when you go to face the Hydra, you'll be able to select 2 of the hero cards that you have and use those to help.
Yep. So, how many of you did not make the party last night? First off, that's sad and you should do better. Because those parties are good. But since you missed it, we are going to show, for the second time, the Theros video.
We are the gods who hold dominion. reign over the world. The givers of light. The stewards of the wilds. The guardians of the dead. Some manipulate mortals. Create catastrophes. Send monsters to terrorize the land. Such are the whims of the gods. And I am Heliod, the greatest of these. Yet something ominous gnaws at the edges of my world. Akros is home to fierce warriors, yet they struggle against hordes of minotaurs. In Miletus, the city of philosophers, oracles foresee disaster. And Satessa, a haven in the wilds, is terrorized by monsters like none have seen before. My world is filled with heroes, but none of them are strong enough to defeat the enemy hiding in plain sight among them. Yet, I know one who is. She does not wish to be a hero, but fate has other plans for her. Elspeth will save Theros from the usurper who would steal it from me. Darkness approaches, and she must become the hero she was meant to be.
And with that, very calmly, we move to Q&A.
There's a microphone up over here.
Yeah, is this one working? For the folks that come up and ask questions, you will receive a print that was made by Cascade Games for the GP in Las Vegas for Modern Masters. So those of you who are asking questions will receive one of these at random. And to give them a quick plug, if you haven't found the Annex, Cascade Games is running Magic tournaments there for the rest of the weekend, so check it out.
There's one I didn't see earlier.
Sorry.
Apparently short. So this isn't a question so much as kind of a, well, actually it is a question. There's a card that I read last night, and it says on the card, for the first time ever, Elspeth asked for help. And for me, that was the most exciting thing I saw last night, because for so long, Planeswalkers have stayed static. Jace is Jace is Jace. Chandra tries to throw fireballs and frequently fizzles. But Elspeth has such a rich backstory.
You don't deserve those goggles.
Give me a Chandra I can play. I have hope. Eventually I'll get a Chandra I can play. I'm keeping the faith. Anyway, so I wanted to ask, the flavor text, was that a deliberate sort of, I mean, I know there's someone who writes those and they do a really good job, but for that particular piece of flavor text, was that something that was done kind of deliberately to twig that, or did that come out of a quote that you wrote in a book?
A couple things are happening differently. You heard that Jenna is going to be writing the novelization that will be expressed as an ebook, just like Doug did for The Secretist. So in names and flavor text, we are more willing and more able to commit to plot points, to character arcs, to meaningful connections and expressions of personality instead of things all happening on the back end like, oh, don't commit to anything now because what if that ends up not being true? Jenna knows what's going to be true. And so we are able to start seeding those things so that they can be in the back of your mind and pay off big when you see them pay off.
Well, thank you for allowing that risk to be taken, because it added so much to what I saw to that card
And
last night.
thank you for noticing that. That's very insightful. I'm going to move over here.
So you're called into work on Tuesday morning in front of GleeMax, and GleeMax says to you, pitch me your dream top-down resonant design, each of you. Fit your dream idea.
Mine's an island. Somebody has to answer for real now. I've been playing.
Go ahead, Jen.
Well, let's see here. You put me on the spot here. Theros, I mean, having just concepted Theros, I love sets where there's a mix of, you know, the top-down, and then the things like he showed you, Lost in the Labyrinth. So I guess I have to answer your question as I hope we continue to do sets where we get to do the top-down designs. Does someone have something more specific? Doug.
Yeah, really. No, like it's a really interesting process. When the setting is built top-down, like Theros was, the design process involves so much more communication between creative here and the rest of the designers and developers. Cards have to be kind of coddled. They have to be sort of loved and brought all the way through the process from initial idea that was, you know, let's have a card that brings a creature back from the underworld, all the way through final art and final name. If any of those people don't love the card along the way, it doesn't make it. So each top-down card you're going to see in Theros represents kind of like this shared passion for a Greek mythology trope. So hope you guys enjoy.
I'll tell you one that I wish we had done in Innistrad because it makes me laugh, is the old bitter neighbor. Like the old man, like it's 0/1, has defender, can't do anything, little overcosted, but each upkeep you put a bitterness counter on him. Right? And you let it cook as long as you can. Meanwhile, he does nothing. He just sits on the rocking chair and hates everything. And whenever you choose, you can sacrifice him and put a spirit token in play that is XX to the number of bitterness counters he accrued.
Jeremy Jarvis, lead designer of the next block.
Yeah, that's top-down me. Going over here.
I really enjoy a lot of the flavor text and the art and how it all fits together. I know you said you created a lot of the concept art first, but when exactly is the point when you make up the flavor text that goes with the final art?
So the flavor text process comes after the card has been designed. So sort of like some of the cards you saw earlier where they were like, it just says card name at the top. That is the kind of our blank slate where we take over. Someone writes an art description for the artist and sends that off, and Jeremy commissions that to the artist. That person gets rolling on illustrating that card. And meanwhile, we have teams of freelancers who submit names and flavor text for all these cards. And those people get to see usually a sketch piece of art and the mechanics of the card, but that's all there is.
Okay.
So the rest is contributed by these writers, and they try to come up with something cool, and then we go through and pick the best ones and let them shine through on the card.
A lot of things happen concurrently. Like once we are in art development for the team, you know, there's a ramp up where one of the writers is concepting all of the cards. Once it's out the door, everything starts hitting. That's why those world guides are so critical to us, because we can't wait for causality of like, the art's done, what should it be about? It's like, no, it's a thing and it says this, and you know, so that's good question, thank you.
It's funny, as you were describing the old man card, I was expecting him to turn into a werewolf and just start beating people after all the just pent-up rage. Anyway.
Do you know Jeremy?
Just a little. But I was wondering, in Avacyn, you had a lot of the signage of the Avacyn symbol.
Yep.
And then in Ravnica, you had the Is It Gruul, all the signage for each of the guilds.
Sure.
Do you have any special signage for this set that identifies cities or?
You'll see it in the art. You'll see it in the art. The polises do each have. There is a broad design sensibility if you're really paying attention. Like, we didn't want the literal Greek meander from like the New York City blue coffee cups. Like, so we came up with motifs. Steve Prescott did most of the heavy lifting on that for each polis. And they also do have a sigil or an icon that they roughly affiliate to. But because it's not, the set is about gods versus, you know, monsters versus heroes. So we didn't want to overdo the polis versus polis thing, but it is there. And if you want to make a t-shirt of it, you will be able to.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Hi there. One of the things I realized coming into this, with all the Greek tropes going around, I know Magic is a 13+ game. How were you guys able to work in all those kind of crazy antics Zeus got
No.
into? No. No, not even like a subtle
You knew
flavor
the answer to
text.
that before you asked the question. No.
So you're talking about like turning into a
swan,
and
sleeping with a lady,
doing something
having
thereafter.
a demigod son, you know.
We captured a lot of tropes.
What happens in Nyx stays in Nyx.
We selectively glossed over some of them to be a family game, a fun game for everybody.
All right, thanks, guys.
So in the video that we just saw, Heliod mentioned that he's the most powerful of the gods. Is there actually a hierarchy of all the gods, or are they pretty much all kind of doing their own thing?
He just thinks he is. It's part of the arrogance of it. We talk about the 5 major gods, but they, like to the gods themselves, they are all equally important. So, anything you want to add to that?
Okay.
Yeah, they really think each one is the leader of the gods, you know. And there are some minor gods that whose domains don't cover as many things as those 5 main ones, but they all think they're pretty important.
Yeah.
Jeff, the god of Wednesdays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I've got 2 questions. The first is, we just got out of Ravnica,
Yep.
Which seemed to me like it was more about multicolored cards. And with Bestow coming out, it seems like you want people to focus on just one color. Are you guys worried about maybe gameplay sort of contradicting each other in Standard at all?
I think there's actually going to be opportunities there for enriching decks with a lot of Ravnica cards. There's smatterings of multicolor in the block, and I think they'll actually play really well together. If you're talking about devotion cards, they count mana symbols, and if you happen to have a red-green creature on the battlefield, that counts as green devotion, counts toward your green devotion. Hybrid works just the same way. So they're actually, when the cards come out and you play with them, I think you'll see there's a lot of interesting connections there.
And my second question is, how did you guys come up with all the Greek stuff that you were going to put into it? Was it sort of like a high school research project where you went and looked up myths, or did you guys have a brainstorming?
Kinda.
So I'll answer that for the writers, because I don't do that stuff because I can't read. They do a lot of research.
All right.
They really do. And we have, Ari, stand up real quick. This is also a team member who is unfortunately not on the panel with us.
Yay,
This is
Ari.
Levitch.
Ari Levitch, one of our writers.
So Ari is actually a history major.
Oh, cool.
Doug is actually a philosophy major. So beyond the skill sets that each team member brings, they do a lot of research to be able to deliver on not only the broad strokes of the kind of Clash of the Titans idea of what a Greek setting or a Gothic horror setting would be, but also there's some really smart stuff there. If you are a person that cares and digs down, they have made sure that you will enjoy this.
So research projects did have a purpose.
Yeah.
Yes. But there is no permanent record. That's a lie.
You mentioned that you went through a bunch of different visual ideas for how to visually identify the gods.
Yep.
Are there any particular interesting ones that you can tell us about that didn't make it?
You want to take that?
Sure. We had, like I told you, the concept push, which lasted for about a month, and we nailed down a few of the gods there, and then I spent probably, I don't know, another month and a half, or something like that, going through all of the gods.
Pantheon.
Yeah.
So for the cues itself, we had things that worked, but in a wrong trajectory. For example, one of the things we explored is like, what if all of the gods or the things with Nyx in them that ended up that way? What if they're actually built of like this urn? You know, they appear to be terracotta, and that looks too artifacty, you know? Or what if, you know, they're built out of constellations, but the lines look cartoonish? Or, you know, so we explored things. I failed gloriously at this. Like, we actually had a little mini push over a weekend with some local guys from other game companies. Yep. And there were 5 of us working on this, and it was challenging. So the solution of it just being Starfield in the gods, but Starfield having a broader meaning here, I am very happy with that solution. So there's nothing, if you're asking if I'm heartbroken on something that ended up cut on the floor, I'm not.
No, I just want to hear some of the other examples. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So I was just wondering if the world building document, like the 300-page thing, is internal only, or we as fans might see it someday.
So maybe-ish. So what you're not going to see, we're not going to just print the world guide, right? Because, for example, the names are placeholder. Things and people and places end up having different proper names, and so we would at least have to correct that. There's some stuff that just never makes it to the set. It was like, this was good when we were talking about it, and the card set kind of went a different way by 5 degrees, and so it just didn't make it. You know, so, but I would love to give you guys something that scratched that itch. It's something we talk about, and every time you guys ask, it's another data point of people are interested, so.
Would you guys be interested in such a product? I mean, we're kind of preaching to the choir here, but hey, buy 2 copies and we'll send a message.
There was one person who roared for me over here. I'm gonna get you a copy.
We'll just rip the pages out first. But front and back.
You have to sign an NDA, and we might kill you if you. Sorry.
That dude actually asked my last question. So I was going to ask, it looks like this Heroes Path is easily the most involved event you guys have put on that a local game store has to run. I'm curious what you've done to kind of aid the owners in guiding through this 9-step process.
So we definitely provide all stores with a FAQ that they get, and we have a team that works on kits to provide stores that gives them all sorts of instructions and information. So we're doing as much as we can to have that communication. We also have a retail support team that's on staff 7 days a week that can answer questions if stores call in. So we definitely consider stores and are there for them to help through this experience.
Right, and even though it's 9 steps, and that sounds intimidating and overwhelming, it's a repeated 3-beat, right? It works the same, it's reflavored, it plays a little differently, the challenge decks are different challenges, it progresses the story, it progresses the hero's path, but the 3-beat is the same. Okay. So they'll be able to settle into the routine and have really, really great in-store experiences.
And then lastly, what happens to that event deck after the event is done on game day? Do the stores give them away, sell them?
A lot of that will be up to the stores, but it is theirs to keep and do with what they want. So.
Great, thank you.
The challenge decks will be available for sale, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know if I could say that or not.
Hi, my question was also actually a demand for some sort of coffee table book.
Is someone getting this down?
Yeah, so just putting that out there. But also I'm curious.
That's the man to convince. This is Mark Purvis. He is our...
I want to give you money for that.
He's our brand director.
I like it. I love it.
So I'm also curious, you showed off the 3 polises, the 3 cities, and you mentioned...
Poles is the official
plural.
All
right, the poles. And you mentioned that the sort of the Sparta analog is red-white, and that there's other sort of color combinations, but there's only 3 of them, and even though this is sort of going in a more monocolor direction, are we going to see more, not necessarily cities, but realms that are in the sort of guild colors, even though the guilds are not a focus?
So you will notice that all the polices were white aligned and one other color, and there was none of them that were black aligned. You haven't seen everything yet. There are also black cards in this set. We thought long and hard about it, but we've made a place for them. And the polices are really just one aspect, the poles, are one aspect of Culture of Theros. So there's more monsters concentrated in the colors that are sort of not as humanoid heavy. And there's gods in every color, and as you go throughout the block, I think you'll see that there's connections that hook nicely into your Ravnica block decks.
Yeah. You'll definitely see connections, but it's not Greek Ravnica. So it's. Sure. I think you'll appreciate how we tackled that. Thank you.
And if you do go ahead with the coffee table art book, make sure to also go back a year and do Return to Ravnica block as well.
And Innistrad, of course.
I heard Innistrad.
Let's try to get one more.
And Innistrad as well, yes.
Yes.
All right, Jeremy, first of all, your card idea doesn't have to die. You just need to take it to the unset and make a card called Get Off My Lawn, and then you can keep your old man. Right? But at that point, it has to become an instant or a sorcery, right? You know, you can't just have a creature. This is actually directly to Jenna because you did do the Innistrad right. And this is a question from one of my buddies, actually, who's a big Liliana fan. And what he wanted to find out is if we're going to be continuing the storyline with her at any time, because we know that she's trying to hunt down the demons that have her locked down. She, took out Gristlebrand and all that good stuff there. Any chance that she shows up in Theros to beat anybody up?
Well, let me say her storyline is going to continue sometime soon. I can't give.
Right, we can't give everything.
You want to.
We'd love to be able to share all the details of what's going on in the future, but
we have seen the same things you have seen. Who could say?
It does seem that she still has work to do.
She does.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Guys, that's going to be all the time we have. We will try to both get out of the way outside of the hall, but we'll be around for a few minutes if you want to shake a hand and put a face with a name. And in closing, I want to sincerely tell you guys, thank you for standing in the line. Thank you for caring so much about the game. We work really hard to try to give you a game you will love, and we really appreciate your support.
Thank you guys so much.